This is another checkpoint video for my upcoming game, synSpace Drone Runners, and the intended topic of this video is personalization and the collectibles associated with that. I have two players here. That's a Nexus and a phone, so that's a 8-inch screen and a 4-inch screen. And the 8-inch screen is the red player, while the phone is the blue player. And what I've got is each of them has got their own info page open. So the red player is Fodder Noxramas. He's got that funky turtle man shape and the bat ship shell. And the blue guy is wearing this kind of a vampire cat thing and something I call kissing swans as his ship shell. And each of them is aware of the other, so I am the red player, but if I tap on the blue thumb, I see that he is the vampire cat and the kissing swans, as indeed he is. And just to prove it the opposite direction, blah blah. I'm having a little network connectivity issue here with the phone. As you saw, it was blinking right there for a moment. We may lose connection. Okay, so I have collected a copy of your ship shell and your face. But what if you change it? Or what if you'd like to change it? What does that mean? Well, first of all, I don't let you change it while you're connected, while you're in the game session. So I will hold down the stop button until I disconnect. And now I will go ahead and sort of start my connection, but at the ship configuration screen, where normally I would be setting my starting pod configuration, I can configure any of these aspects of my persona, and one of which is my ship shell. And you could tap there directly on it, or you can tap on the button. It gets to the same place. This brings up the chooser, the review of all of the current shell collectibles I have. So this goes back to the stock shells that came with the game, and then shells that I've either drawn or received since then. So let's say I would like to draw a new one, and let's say I'd kind of like to start with this one, which I prefer to think that this is my attempt at making sort of an interesting skullish pattern. So I select it, and the currently selected one has a red highlight. And if I wanted to, I could just use it, and then I'd be using it, and that'd be the end of the story. But notice that it has the name Skull Maze, and whoever drew this, me, gave it that name. And please don't give them horrible names. But it also has an asset tag, which is the serial number of the player I was at that time, and the creation number. So that was the 33rd thing that player had created. And this serial number can change, so more about that in some other video. Anyway, so I want to make a new one that's kind of based on that. Or I could delete this one if I really hated it. Okay, so I push edit, and that opens the shell editor. And this guy is just a bunch of simple line segments connected together. And as you can see, each line segment has a square handle in the middle and two round handles at its ends. The round handles are vertices, and you just hold them and then drag them around to move them to a different position. And this is actually kind of a complicated design to be demonstrating this with. But anyway, so you just do that. And you can pinch zoom and drag to get into the details of a particular area. There's an axis in the background that is the center of your ship is going to be right at that spot. So your fire is going to come out of that spot. and actually weapons are technically launched from that spot as well. And it's that spot that bounces off of walls, and it's an important spot. And you should draw your shell with an awareness of where that spot is. There's a maximum size for that axis, and you can't drag anything past that point. And then for any given line segment, if you grab the square handle in the middle and drag, you break the bone. And now that thing that I dragged that was a square handle is now a round handle, because it's now a free-flowing vert that I can put anywhere I want. And I've created two bones out of the one bone I had before. And they each have their own center square. So I could break them, click, click, and I can thus make an arbitrarily interesting curve out of these little segments. There's no real value in being too precise here. At least in so far as in-game. On various, like on the player info screen, people will see the detail, but usually you're going to be rendered so small that it won't make much difference. And there is some performance hit for, more verts over less. Now, if you don't like a vert, if you broke a bone accidentally or changed your mind, there's a little eraser here in the corner. And if you select the vert you'd like to delete, which is this one right now, it's highlighted, and then press the eraser, it goes away. Now if I select that one and press the eraser, it goes away. So you can, if it gets overly complicated, you can simplify it, or you can work it more complicated. Anyway, so you do this, and now let's make some actual changes so that it seems like we did something. Let's give him kind of a big jaw. Oh, so this is good. So I'm dragging this vert over here, and you see I draw this little grid marker here because your finger's on top of it, so you can't see it anymore, right? So these lines are how you actually align things up. But if you look, as the line crosses the axis, the echo of this line, so this line's going up and down over here, I draw this little tick mark up and down over here. And that's so you can, if you want to, achieve some symmetry. So say I want these dots to be peers. So now I got the little crosshairs on that dot. So now they're in a symmetrical position. So now let's drag out a new bone there, and then make it symmetrical with its other side equivalent. Come on, come on. There we go. Okay, so in theory that's symmetrical. And if symmetry becomes a really important concept, I mean, I could have a button or something. Anyway, once you have made the changes that you want to make, you clone and save. And what all that does is, it starts off, it's willing to be the same maze as it was before, but now we'll call it Skulljaw. And the original one is unchanged. Well, right now it's changed a little, but that's going to go away in a moment. Clunk. Okay, so now I save the changes, and now it's selected on it, and notice that it is a different serial number than the original, because that was not apparently drawn by me on this machine. So on this machine, whose serial number starts with 492B, this is the 201st act of creativity, and I called it Skulljaw. Now, somewhere I remember what it was cloned from, and if necessary, you could go back and figure out the full chain of clonage that got to a particular end point. But I don't want to focus on that, because this is not a game about intellectual property rights. This is a game about shared discovery. So here's Skull Maze that I got from before, and it's back to looking the way it originally did. And it is asset tag number 33 from 72830149860C544B60. So every player, every device that the game is installed on gets a serial number, which is mostly a random number. It's got a timestamp in it. And if you uninstall, that will also be uninstalled. And then if you reinstall, you'll get a new serial number. And every copy of the game that you've got on every device you own will have its own serial number. So if you get overly worried about ownership rights, you're already kind of messed up, because you can't have 3 devices that are all, the same ownership right. Now, I solved that same problem in my PC Well of Souls game. So it's not something, it's something I'm doing on purpose at the moment. Now, maybe it's a big mistake, but that's how I chose to start this project. So anyway, so I just changed it, and now I made a new one rather, but I am not using it yet. So let's push this button, and then I will be using this new one. And look, I'm using this new one. And the point is that this guy down here, the blue guy, when he looks at, oh look, he got disconnected. You can tell you're disconnected various ways, but that's one way. Well, this would be a cooler demo if that hadn't happened. If you just sort of long press that, it'll reconnect. And then I have to re-enter. Anyway, as you can see, I still have his old ship design. Look at that. Oh my God, something has gone horribly wrong. What? Oh, actually, he never actually launched. Anyway, the point is, sometimes there is a little bit of a delay, but in this case, the delay was just because I hadn't pushed the button yet. But as you see, he now has the new thing. And now, likewise, he may want to do the same thing. So again, I have to leave the current server session. I have to disconnect from the drone, and then start to reconnect to the drone. And on the configuration screen, I pick I indicate that I want to change my shell. No, I don't want to do my shell this time. I'm sorry. I want to change my face. Because, should I do that? This is getting kind of long. I'll do that in a separate video. Maybe it'll be a better video.